Now, I've got a special guest joining me this week. Who knows? Maybe not just this week. I guess we'll find out. Ollie, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Great to be involved, and hopefully it isn't just this week. So, you see, I don't know what you're setting me up for, but I'm Ollie. I'm 18, based currently in Melbourne, but born in Manchester. So I'm a Lancs fan back home, Victorian cricket fan over here. So Stars fan in the Big Bash, which might be slightly interesting once we move on to that this summer.
Yeah.
But no, massive England cricket fan. So yeah, it's mainly England, Lancs, and the Stars really is the main feud.
So obviously, when England come up against Australia, you're going for England.
Absolutely.
But what if Australia go up against anyone else? Are you anyone but Australia, or will you support Australia?
I'll be honest. At the moment, probably
anyone but Australia.
I've said because I'm growing up in a household where it's like a hatred for Australian cricket. It's sort of been passed on now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've now come to the fact where at the moment I'm gonna have to change the mindset because I don't really want to be like talking bad about anybody, like a full organization on a podcast, especially a podcast with two people currently based in Australia.
Yeah.
So look, you know what? Let it be. I don't know how it's gonna go, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been clearly raised very differently because my parents have been like, no, you're living in Australia, you've got to support Australia. So that hatred hasn't really been passed on to me, I've got to admit.
No, I don't know. It's an interesting one because it's something that I've been quizzed on a lot through growing up. It's like, oh, but England aren't even playing. Well, it's like, I guess also being a football fan, like football rivalries are very like sort of straight and narrow. To the point where in football, if my rivals are playing anybody else, I'd rather support anybody else. And I think it's sort of just translated over to that. But it's probably going to change. It's probably me being fickle.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, when we interview some people, I'm sure you'll change your mind because the Australians are lovely.
Australia, it's a great country. I love it. But cricket, it's just interesting, especially when it's Australia or England. I'm the most patriotic England fan you'll ever come across, which doesn't bode well because we usually lose over here. But yeah, exactly. You've got to support your country, I think.
Yeah. Now, who's your favourite player of all time?
Of all time, that's what I'm going to think about. Currently, it's probably Liam Livingstone.
Okay. Yeah.
All time, probably maybe Alistair Cook. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Or Jimmy Anderson, one of the two.
Yeah.
Because just watching them grow up, just touring around England watching cricket, those two were just amazing, and Jimmy Anderson still is. Alistair Cook somehow still playing. He's never going to retire.
Yeah.
But currently, probably Liam Livingstone, being a Lancs fan, and he's just so exciting to watch. Like, he just hits everything out of the park, which is just class to watch, I think. So they're probably the main few, I'd say.
Do you have a favourite game that you've ever watched live?
Yes, it's a niche one. Live would probably be. There's a couple actually. I was there when Marcus Stoinis broke the record for amount of runs, the 147 before it got broken again, didn't it? It got broken by. Was it this summer?
Yeah, it was. So in the Big Bash.
So I was there that day.
Yeah.
I was there the day that we won the Ashes back in 2011 at Old Trafford. The day was rained out, but I'm still going to count it. Even though I don't think we saw any cricket, or we saw about 3 or 4 overs, I'm still going to count it because that was pretty cool, rained out, and that was enough. And I've spoken to you about this off air. It was a random T20 game. It was a quarter final in like 2012, where we travelled up to Sussex, and we won. And I got a match worn shirt, which was quite nice after chanting the whole game and being really obnoxious.
Yeah.
So there's a few. I've been to a lot of games, especially back home. There's plenty of games to pick from. I could talk for hours.
No, that's good to hear. And you've obviously support the Stars, which is gonna. Let me tell you, I'm a very passionate Strikers fan, so probably going to be a couple of clashes and opinions, which aren't going to meet in the middle. But do you have a favourite Stars player
of all time? Probably Luke Wright.
I can see where you're going with that one.
Yeah, but again, I just remember him. Like I think it was against the Renegades when they had 80,000 on. He was incredible. I just remember that game as just a memory. Currently, we'll go with the Stoin.
Yeah, Yeah, it's strange actually, because so many people really like him, but then so many people really can't stand him. I think he's very funny, but
Depends what colour shirt he's pulling on. For me,
yeah.
if he's playing against England, I'm like, first ball duck, please. But if he's playing for Stars, I want him scoring tons after ton after ton. It's weird how it works like that, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. The green and gold probably isn't your favourite jersey, is it?
I mean, they make them. They look nice, especially when they, you
Just
know
what
what I
the
mean.
people
Like,
they're on.
but especially when they have like the indigenous ones as well. I think they trim them up really really well. But as a country, as a cricketing organisation, if they're playing England and there's only one team I want winning, and I'll go on record and say that.
Yeah. But yeah, should we just get started? I think that's given everybody enough to get to know you.
I hope so. I hope I haven't burnt any bridges. Like, it's 8 minutes into my first podcast appearance. I hope people can still stand me up to this point. And if I haven't, if you can't, I do apologise.
I mean, a lot of people do listen from Australia, so let's hope they're going to stick with it.
I'm in trouble.
All right, so we'll just get started with the England versus South Africa women's test match, which I put a tweet out last night when they were like 5 down. Amy Jones had just got a duck. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go to bed. And let me tell you, I regret going to bed because I missed out on probably one of the best debut performances in women's cricket that I've ever seen. Just crazy. I can't even wrap my mind around the fact that Alice Davidson-Richards 107, which was brilliant, and Nat Siver 119 not out. Very frustrated. I went to bed, to be honest.
Yeah, look, it's hard, especially when there's technically you'd say away test matches for us. It's hard to stay up that late.
Yeah.
I saw the tweet and the emoji, just thinking, you know what? I'm actually with you here. I might also hit the sack, because I was tired at this point too. I was absolutely, I was shattered. But England weren't going too well. We've seen in the men's test matches recently how we've been in awful positions, and yet we've been managing to turn it round, and we've done it again. It was brilliant to see ADR get to a ton. Like, let's be honest, it was brilliant. I watched the moment, I saw it come up, and watch her get to the ton. And it was like, oh my goodness, how in the world have we turned this round? Yeah. We've got Nat Siver, who everyone expects to do something, and a debutante who you're thinking you don't know much about, and she's gone and smashed 3 figures. Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think she did go into it with quite like obviously she bowled before, and I think for people watching it here, people may not know that she can hold the bat as well. So going into it, taking a wicket, people thinking, oh, she's probably just a bowler. But I think it was really good that she was able to go in, and like she did. Like, I think I messaged you at this point, and I was saying, like, she's done what she needs to do. England were in so much trouble, and she's gone in and she's just kept them out. And I think she was like 4 runs off 30-40 balls or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take it, because she's staying in there. And then to wake up to her having 100, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I messaged you earlier this morning, and I'm like, what's happened? What's going on? And I'm like, you're like, oh, I haven't seen it. I'm like, I'll just wait for you.
Yeah.
I'll wait. But it was remarkable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think she's I'm not sure if it's second player in history, men's or women's, or second English player in history. I'm not sure which it is, but it's one of the two, to get a wicket and a test ton on debut.
Oh yeah, right. I didn't.
Alongside WG Grace, which is a steam company. I saw that. So it's amazing, like, the company she's with and the record she'd set. It's a bit of a trailblazing moment, I reckon, for Alice Davidson-Richards, and long may it continue. Obviously, dismissed last ball of the day, which is not what you want to see, but it gives a chance now for the lower order to potentially have a look. Sophie Eccleston can hold a bat. We saw that in Canberra. Let's see if Nat Siver just switches completely and just has a whack now, or if our tail will get skilled. Hopefully not, but to have a lead after South Africa set such a good target, so good first innings total is a positive, and I'm sure we'll take it forward.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, going right down the order here, it's still able to score, like, all the way down. We've got like you said, Sophie Eccleston, but also Kate Cross can bat, and not to mention Izzy Wong. She made, I think, 43 off 17 or something like that in the Big Bash. And she also opened the batting for the Central Sparks in the Charlotte Edwards Cup that just happened. But she can definitely hit a ball. You've still got people who can score all the way down the order. So yeah, it'll be really exciting to see. Hopefully they get a chance to build some runs with Nat Siver. I just don't want Nat Siver to be in a place where she was in the World Cup final, where she just had no one to kind of keep that partnership with, as everyone was just falling around her. So yeah, hopefully someone can stick out there, whether it be Sophie or Crossy. Yeah, it'd be good. But I mean, going back to the first South Africa innings, Marizanne Kapp, 150. What a player. Like, she's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, she has been for years. And again, she's just showing it there. 150. It's such a big milestone as well that, you know, you rarely see players reach 150 at any level. And she's really held that innings together because, let's face it, South Africa were in real trouble. You had Lauren Bell turning the ball round corners. You had Izzy Wong bowling with massive pace. They were getting skittled early on. If you just look at the fall of wickets, they were, you know, if you have a look there, they were 45 for 4 at one point. And then Marizanne Kapp has just torn the England bowling attack apart. And when you're bowling to a player like Marizanne Kapp, you can't really complain if she does that because she's just an amazing cricketer. And you just watch it and you just sit back in awe at the shots she's playing. It's remarkable. And to be fair, it's the same really with Nat Siver at the other end because, like you said before, we were in a spot of bother. And to have players of that calibre come in when needed and turn up for your country is exactly what you need. And Marizanne Kapp and Nat Siver and, to a point, of course, Alice Davison-Richards have all done that to a T. So it just shows how, you know, what calibre players we've got at the moment. It's brilliant to see.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, against that, I guess, Tammy Beaumont caught out Marizanne Kapp, and I don't know whether you saw it, but she literally like flew through the air, and it was a brilliant catch. England's fielding was so good, and I think that's where, not let them down, but it changed things because in the World Cup and the Women's Ashes, they dropped the ball a bit with their fielding. They, you know, were letting ones go and didn't look like they were trying to save them 100%. I know that sounds bad, but
figuratively and literally as well.
But yeah, they brought it back and their fielding was brilliant and they took the catches they needed to, which I guess restricted them to this total of 284 because they could have gone higher. 100%, they could have gone so much higher.
And they were in such a good position. You're right. After obviously Marizanne Kapp just hit the ball to every part of Taunton, and then obviously she was dismissed late. And they didn't add much from there, but it's really put the game in an interesting point because if Marizanne Kapp goes cheap, you're thinking she comes in, and then they're in real trouble at like you said, they were 45 for 4. If she's then coming in and not making runs, then the game's probably, for a neutral at least, not going to be the spectacle it might be now because it's been set up so nicely by Marizanne Kapp. And then obviously you had to have someone to match her, and Nat Siver's done that. She could well go past that 150 with her currently 119 not out. As long as, like you say, someone in the tail can stick with her, then she might go past 150. So it's really interesting to see how they've sort of matched each other and how much the game's elevated because of these batting efforts. Yeah,
and like it's continuing tonight, and I'm super excited. I guess we will see what happens. Hopefully we can get an England win. It'd be nice to see those girls win again after such a tough Australian summer. But yeah, that continues tonight. And then got tomorrow as well, only the 4 days. So we'll see what happens. But do you want to start us off with the men's test?
I can do, absolutely. So obviously it was a wonderful series, wasn't it? First of all, right off the top, you're going into it thinking, right, we're playing against New Zealand, a team who have been utterly incredible for so long, and you're sort of just thinking, well, maybe damage limitation's a good place to start. And we've just come out, and it's been unbelievable with the intent that we've shown right from the off, pretty much. I sort of just thought, first test when we had about 7 slips in, you're just thinking, okay, I like this New England, and we've gone and run out 3-0 winners.
Yeah.
It's just utterly unfathomable, really. Especially the way that we've been playing. Like, Johnny Bairstow has been unbelievable. Obviously, third test to win it with a 71 or 44, 3 6s. It's, you'd be confused. I think he might be colourblind, Johnny Bairstow, because he's seen a white ball out there.
Obviously, he's been around for quite a bit, but he hasn't been selected in the past. Yeah, he was only selected for a couple of the games in Australia here. So I think him getting the opportunity to actually show what he can do was really, really good. And I'm super glad that he was able to show what he's capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I'll be completely honest, I've been a massive critic of Johnny Bairstow over the years for getting out cheaply when we need him. And ever since the Sydney test where he turned up, I've just been thinking, we're seeing a new Johnny Bairstow here. And he's carried it on, and it's brilliant to see. Like, I feel safe now with Johnny Bairstow at the crease. Mm-hmm. It's like when you watch England, you there's certain players who I won't name, you can probably think about, who I don't feel safe watching at the crease. But Johnny Bairstow now, he's just the glue that holds that middle order together. And under this new Stokes-McCullum regime, I think he's going to be the one that will really flourish. And he has done already. I'd say 161 strike rate in a test innings off 44 balls is absurd. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's really good. And like I said, super glad that he's been kind of given that opportunity to show what he's capable of. But Joe Root, now obviously not captain anymore, but I really feel like that's completely changed the way he's playing. And I've seen lots of pictures where he's, after he's lost against the West Indies, lost against Australia, he just looks defeated and completely over it, to be honest. But to see him with a smile on his face, enjoying what he's doing, player of the series, so good to just see him thrive again and just to see him happy again, which I think is what he needed. It was just like a weight lifted off his shoulder by passing on the captaincy to Ben Stokes.
Yeah, and it was something that, again, that I discussed a lot around certain groups, saying I was a massive defender of Joe Root, even though potentially he wasn't having the impact that he would have liked, especially over here. And I was sort of thinking, well, who's the replacement? Because obviously when you've got a captain there, you've got to replace them. And I wasn't sure if Ben Stokes was the right man to do it. I'm glad that he was. I'm glad that he is. And certainly it has taken a weight off Joe Root's shoulders because he just looks happier. And I think you've got to be happy with what you do. If you're not happy, then your performance is going, it's going to go down the pan. And I think Joe Root has even improved. I mean, he hasn't had a perfect series, but he's had a good series. And that's a massive positive. Like, if you have a look, go back to the second test, 176 off 211 balls is, again, unbelievable. And he was, England's player of the series. Obviously, Daryl Mitchell had that for New Zealand, which is richly, richly deserved. Because he was remarkable. Like, how you can make... I think he had the most runs by a New Zealander on an England tour. And the records he beat were off the back of 4 games, and he's only had 3. 500-plus runs in 3 games is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying about Joe Root. Like I've said, it's just good to see him happy again. And I feel like it's what everyone needed because, like you said, I was even unsure. I'm like, oh, Ben Stokes, you sure? But it's clearly paid off for them and something's working. So I'd like to keep it that way, I think. Yeah,
I reckon so. It's nice to see not all facets, but a lot of facets of English cricket humming. Because not everyone is. Like, we can't be deluded and say that everyone is, but you look at it and you go, English men's cricket with the England tests. You've got England women's cricket with the England women's test, both in good positions. Mm-hmm. It's nice to see there's a bit of unity on the field in Test cricket across those 2 forms, which is nice.
Yeah, it's really nice to see. So, due to the fact that we have a USA cricketer featuring in this episode, which we will get to in a little bit, but I thought it would only be fair that we talk about the minor league cricket in USA. Now, there are so many teams, so it's actually so hard to keep up with all the games. I think there's like 25 teams or something like that. It's insane.
Yeah, it is absurd, isn't it? How many games there are? Like, it's if you're looking at a league, like you look at the Big Bash, it's like it's so easy to watch every single game. Whereas now with this, it's like no,
you can't. That's the thing. You've just got to select your team or select a couple of your favorite teams and just stick to those games. But I think Were you going to join me in the same team?
Look, I've got no affiliation to the US, so it's as good a reason as ever to go on to pick a team, because I've got no idea. I was just looking over the teams, like you say, there's so many to pick from. It's like I don't know where to start.
I feel like you can go with like your favorite color maybe, and select based on like your favorite color.
Well, again, like my favorite color's blue, so
okay, there's a lot of blues.
That already ticks boxes with San Diego, so it's like we're already halfway there. You were saying off there like how good the shirt looks, and I was like, I can go with that.
Yeah. So I think we've both selected the San Diego Surf Riders. May or may not have talked to somebody who plays the San Diego Surf Riders, but you know what I mean. It got me introduced into this kind of format and this tournament, so we'll go with it. They did get really demolished in the first game, but you know what, you got to stick with your team through wins and losses. We're both used to that with watching England play, so it's no different.
Precisely.
Yeah.
As you say, not a great result for them to start off with, and like you say, I follow a lot of awful teams, like in terms of whatever sport it is, teams who potentially aren't the best in their league, whether it be, you know, good clubs, but maybe not performance-wise. And hopefully that's not the case here with San Diego, but not a great start to their season. They got absolutely battered, didn't they, if we're being honest, by Golden State.
To go down by 98 runs and only make it to 14 overs it's not a great start, I must admit, but hopefully they can be like, hang on a minute, we can't continue playing like this and switch it up a bit. But yeah, it wasn't brilliant, I must admit.
When you look at it, when you actually have a look at the scorecard, they were 48 for 8 off 9 overs and got to 81 off 14. So they managed to stick it out from 48 for 8.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at a scorecard, that it doesn't make for good reading. They were 16 for 5 off 2.4 overs. So they were going to run a ball, but they lost 5 wickets. That's absurd.
There is actually 5 ducks as well.
Oh my word!
Which really, really not too brilliant.
Look, I'll jump on the bandwagon. I will, and hopefully things start to turn around. Because obviously every team's allowed a bad game, right? Every team's allowed a bad game.
We'll allow them one. We'll allow them this one. And that's it. But yeah, look, hopefully they can bring it back. Yeah, not off to a great start, but you never know. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they can do something with their next game. Now, all these games, because there are so many, they are all live streamed on their YouTube channel, the MLC Network. So you can literally watch any of the games live. They're also replaying them as well. And then they also do highlights and interviews and all that kind of stuff on that YouTube channel. So if you do want to support a team, you can watch all their games live, which I think is really good for the advertising side of it, the fact that you can just watch it on YouTube. But yeah, that's that. I think it's look, I'm excited to see what happens, and yeah, like we said, hopefully the Surf Riders can bring it back and win a couple of games. That'd be nice.
I mean, it's a good what do they say? You can only start from the bottom. Once you're at the bottom, the only way is up.
Yeah.
So they can't do that again, hopefully.
Yeah.
We can dream.
Hopefully not.
We can dream.
I think, you know what, some of these names are actually quite fun. We've got the Raptors, Galaxy, Lions, and then there's also strikers as well. So
like the Manhattan Yorkers. Can you imagine just naming more cricket teams after deliveries? Can you imagine if you just came up against, I don't know, like the Miami Deucers or something?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, the Atlanta Googlies.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are a bit random, but look, I mean, there's so many teams that have had to come up with names for. So good on them, I guess. You've got Houston Hurricanes, Michigan Cricket Stars. It's one of them.
Not a chance. Oh, wait. I can't wait. No way.
Michigan Cricket Stars, St. Louis Americans.
The Hollywood Master Blasters.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. They've got so many teams to name.
That's good.
We'll let them have it.
No, I like it. I enjoy it.
Moving on to our guest. So I was joined by my dad, who did this interview with me, and we talked to Marty Kain, who is the captain of the San Diego Surf Riders. but he didn't play. He was elsewhere, but hopefully he joins back in with the Surf Riders. So yeah, it was really, really good to talk to him about USA cricket. He's also got his own coaching business, so he talks to us about that. And he is originally from New Zealand, so made the move over to USA. So yeah, it's very interesting to hear him talk about like the cultural kind of differences and what cricket's like in USA. So enjoy the interview with Marty Kain.
Here comes Adair to Kain. It's exactly where he's going to go. A stunning shot, 4 more to the total. Kain's first international innings is proving to be a little gem.
Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today. Could you please just start off by talking to us a little bit about where you are in the world at the moment and where you're at with your cricket?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in San Diego, California, and been in the USA for about 5 years. Probably first 3 or 4 years I was not playing cricket at all. I have been coaching a lot since I've been here, less playing, and then got talked back into playing a little bit of cricket, then a little bit more, and now a decent amount. So last December I made my debut for the USA in the T20 series against Ireland, and then a lot of cricket going on with minor league at the moment, which is a new competition that started last year in the US. So I coach and captain the San Diego team. So that's what's going on. That's about to start in a few weeks. And then regarding the USA stuff, there's some World Cup qualifiers coming up in a few weeks. So pending selection, hopefully I'll get an opportunity to go over to Zimbabwe and play those World Cup qualifiers, which are to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Australia later this year.
It sounds like an awful lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
You crammed quite a lot in the first part of the introduction there. But I mean, what led you to actually get to America in the first place? How did you start playing cricket back home in New Zealand and ended up in America there?
Yeah, so I mean, I played a lot of sports when I was young in New Zealand. I think that's the nature of probably New Zealand. There's a lot of opportunity to play sports, and played a lot of tennis, and passion just got more and more for cricket. Loved playing in the team sport and stuff, but it was fairly self-driven as a kid. So I'd just be out there practicing, and growing up, I'd always have a bat or ball in hand, and just kept playing and advancing, and then eventually went to like a boarding school in Christchurch to push forward my cricketing career, and then a cricket scholarship in Christchurch as well for university, and then that led to my first class debut in Canterbury before moving home to my home province of Central Districts and playing there for, 6 to 8 years or something there, before meeting my wife in England, when I was playing over there and she was studying abroad. And she is an American citizen. So we spent a year after getting married back in New Zealand before we moved to the US, where she did her master's here in San Diego. And we certainly love it here. And at the moment, there's no plans of moving. So I've got my coaching business here as well. I do a lot of cricket coaching, so that's here and that's doing really well. And between that and surfing and the sunshine, it's a pretty nice place out here.
Yeah, bit of a culture shock for you, was it, going from New Zealand to San Diego?
It was really, yeah. The first year was really challenging in the US, actually, because I just retired from professional cricket, which is a pretty nice lifestyle, and obviously always been around friends and stuff like that. Moving to the US and obviously trying to get a real job and not knowing anyone, and definitely the culture is a lot different here. It's a bit of a sink or swim culture here, so you got to find your feet, otherwise no one's going to have you back, which has some merit, but it is definitely tough. But yeah, once you find your feet, it's certainly a nice place to be, and certainly got my head around things now. I'm a US citizen, I've played for the US and stuff, so it feels quite homely now. Obviously New Zealand's home, but it did take some time, and it definitely was stressful and challenging, that first part, which I think it is for any professional cricketer when they retire, but especially moving to a pretty foreign country as well.
And probably the most important question of all is, have you been to the San Diego Fair this weekend?
I have not actually. It's been a busy few months traveling and doing so much. And one of my best friends just landed in San Diego last night to join our minor league team for the season. So picked him up last night, and then today was a designated surfing day. So we've spent a bit of time on the water, and I don't know how high priority hustling around at a fair is for us. I think the waves are calling a little bit more than the fair at the moment.
Fair enough. So you mentioned before about your debut against Ireland late last year. Now, what was that experience like, making your international debut for your country?
Yeah, that was really awesome. I mean, it was ever since I was probably 5, that was a dream, and to get selected was awesome, and just to see the happiness of family and friends that had supported the journey the whole way was probably the most satisfying thing, because they've sort of been there just supporting, and not obviously worried if I ever play international cricket or anything like that, but for them it was awesome for them as well. So, and then playing the game was a lot of fun, because it was obviously I'm no young puppy anymore, so it was a late dream come true and a bit of a bonus for me. And it was, I just went out there and had fun and made sure I enjoyed the moment. And it was, so I knew it being a one-off chance. I didn't know how many games I'll play, and I just wanted to be out there and have fun and remember that. So it was really awesome. Had a great time and didn't feel too nervous or anything like that. Just made sure I enjoyed the moment so I could look back on it in a positive manner.
That's great, isn't it? Because you're probably at a stage in your career now where you can actually put it a bit more in perspective. You know, you're probably shaking off those nerves somewhat, like a young player might do. And like you said, you can actually just take it all in, and you know, as if it's probably going to be the last time. Hopefully it won't, you know, you never know. But, you know, certainly, you know, age helps you, doesn't it? Put things in perspective a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. And I probably almost made a little bit of a mistake after that game, in the sense that I may have started taking my cricket a bit more seriously, like I did in New Zealand. And actually, I think that had the reverse effect on my performances. And I started actually training a lot more and probably taking it a bit more seriously. But last year I had a really good year, and that was on the back of a very relaxed and not too worried mindset, to be honest. I always go out there and play tough, but like build up and stuff, I was not too stressed, and sort of had nothing really to be lost for me, because the coaching is my main priority now, but the playing's the fun side of it. But I feel earlier this year, actually, after getting that chance, I all of a sudden started taking it a little bit more seriously, and I felt that was detrimental. And after a month or two of lesser performances, I realized that, and I said I'm not going back to that. So back to just making sure I enjoy and focusing on the coaching and enjoying my surfing, and then obviously being ready to play without putting that much pressure on it.
What I want to follow up then from you talking about your coaching, obviously that's your core business now. What does it actually look like for kids who are starting cricket? What are the pathways there in the US? Yeah,
it's still not quite there yet. It's a bit of a unique. I would say everything about US cricket is a little bit unique at the moment. Like there's a lot of it, but it's a bit all over the show, if that makes sense. So I guess like here in San Diego specifically, like there's a San Diego Cricket Club. And in the past year or so, it probably went from like, I don't know, 10, 15 juniors to 100, 150 to a point where it's sped past what they can handle in a way. And then a lot of volunteers had to become involved, and getting more grounds and stuff like that is not easy in the US, and especially in California, where they're fully occupied by soccer and baseball and that. So it has been a challenge in that sense for the cricketing community, in the sense that there's been such quick growth and awareness of the game going up, that we have to keep moving forward with facilities and coaching and stuff like that. my coaching business is a little different. I mostly take one-to-ones, and I have my own facility in that. But again, there the demand is far exceeding the amount of time I have. So I have a very difficult time juggling the amount of numbers that would like to come to how much I can actually do. So there's a big indication for me that there's a very big amount of people looking to get into the game. Hopefully in the coming years that'll lead to more cricket within schools and stuff like that. We're not quite seeing that, at least in San Diego and stuff yet. Some different parts of the country are seeing that. And now for these kids, there's a lot of excitement around like minor league and stuff like that. So they actually have something to work towards, where in the past it would be more like you're just going to play some random club cricket, and maybe if you're really good, you're going to play for the USA. But now we've got a really good pathway with minor league cricket and then major league cricket starting next year. So the kids are pretty excited, and definitely their parents are investing a lot of time into trying to help their kids get better and give them the opportunities for the future.
Yeah, well, so I mean, in terms of, obviously you said there's quite a bit of buy-in there now, but how are they mainly discovering that league? Is that because of online? They watching games online, or are they just seeing it around? Is it word of mouth? Is it migrant parents? I mean, what do you think the core buy-in is there, and how they're finding it?
Yeah, I think definitely it is migrant parents at the moment. You're not going to see not a lot of born and bred Americans. Certainly, perhaps not the parents in that as well. But there's also academies linked to the minor league teams. So a lot of the minor league teams will have the youth academy. So that's providing ideally good coaching, and then linking those together, and then those youth minor league teams play against the other minor league teams. So it just gives them a little bit of a pathway. And then I think they're pretty good with their social media and stuff like that. So the awareness of cricket in the US is getting a lot more through social media and those channels. So most of the kids in San Diego now associate with the San Diego Surf Riders, and it's definitely they'll wear merchandise and stuff like that. So there's a cool little buzz about it, even though it's a pretty new thing and it's not a big thing yet, I would say, but there is a little buzz around it, and you get a couple of hundred kids along to the games and stuff, which is really cool for America, which is a new age of professional cricket.
Yeah, it does sound exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's really good to have that start from the sort of grassroots level, and watch as they grow and develop and love the game more. So it's excellent. Great place to start, I think, and really exciting place for you to be.
Now, I assume most states in America would play cricket of some sort, but which state do you think has the most involvement in cricket, and why?
Yeah, it's it would be close between California and Texas, I would say. Some of that would have to come down to climate, I guess. Definitely in California, you can play all year round. Texas, mostly you can play all year round. And then they also both have massive populations. And typically it's going to be a little bit aligned with where there's tech companies as well, where those perhaps Indians and Pakistan and those guys have jobs in that industry, and then their kids are going to want to get into cricket because those guys love cricket. So tech opportunities typically lead to cricketing areas and communities, and also I guess the climate in California and Texas is conducive to playing a lot of cricket, whereas some places in the Midwest and the Northeast and stuff, that shorter period of sort of 3 to 4 months of cricket is a little less conducive to getting more people involved.
Yeah, that does make sense when you mentioned about the warmth, I guess. But so in comparison to like baseball and American football, they're obviously, from our perspective living in Australia, I'd say America's two biggest sports, but I'm not sure about how they personally feel. But do you think cricket can ever reach the same level as those most popular American sports? And if so, what would you think the steps would be in order to get cricket up there with the other sports?
Yeah, no, I honestly don't think so. And I don't think it needs to. being such a huge country, you only need a little small piece of the pie to have a pretty big audience. So I think the ideal goal would be somewhere in the soccer region. Like soccer started very small in the US, and now it has a decent chunk of the market. A lot of kids play soccer, and so the awareness with soccer grew very quickly in the last 10 to 20 years in the US. And I think that would be a good pathway for cricket to follow. And I have a feeling they're trying to align themselves with that similar pathway. I think it would be very difficult to compete with baseball and football and try to take some of that audience. It'd be nice to take a few, but I don't think we'll take too many. The Americans are pretty patriotic, and I don't think they're going to quickly jump over to cricket too quickly. So I think it'll be more focusing on grabbing a smaller chunk of the market. You don't need to compete with those guys so much, because there's a place for a lot of sports in the US. Even like basketball's big, ice hockey's big, and as I said, soccer's grown a lot, and that has a big market as well. So I think they can target that and then grow it up there and sit somewhere maybe in the top 5 or 6 sports, but top 2 or 3 I think won't be in my lifetime, that's for sure.
I think one of the big things about the growth of soccer, of course, is you only really need a ball, don't you, to be able to get involved and play that. Whereas the American sports, you probably need a fair bit of kit, and the cricket probably the same as well. Although we do cope all right with beach cricket and backyard cricket, so maybe that's the way we need to start encouraging it down the beaches there in San Diego.
Yeah, I think so. We might get kicked off the beach though.
So you mentioned before about the minor league cricket and the San Diego Surf Riders. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that tournament and where it kind of started up, who's involved, what states were involved, where it's played, all that kind of stuff? Sure.
Yeah, so the first season was last year. There's 25 teams at the moment. So basically, US cricket partnered with some really big investors to help grow the game in the US, and those investors were there to create minor league and major league cricket and some professional tournaments, basically, to blow cricket up in the US. Essentially, they were very aware of the audiences following cricket through TV viewership, and they wanted to tap into that market. So they wanted to create their own product, which is minor league, and then will be major league cricket, which will be the main one. So they were very aware of how many people in the US were watching cricket abroad and online and stuff like that. So they wanted to create their own product so they can sell it to those people already watching cricket and consuming cricket in the US. So they partnered with US Cricket and have very big investment backed by some huge sponsors like Microsoft and Times of India and stuff like that. So there's some good cash flow coming in there, and they brought a lot of good cricketers from around the world to move to the US to, one, coach, and then to play, be part of minor league, be part of major league, and then ideally represent USA as well to upskill that team as well. So that was basically the plan. So then there's 25 teams pretty much scattered all around the country. I would say there's quite a few on the West Coast, some in Texas, Midwest has some, Northeast has some. So they're pretty well scattered around the country. So that's really nice in the sense that every area of the US is pretty well represented. Probably the biggest challenge is making sure we get the grounds are up to speed and the pitches are up to speed. Some of the games are still played on artificial pitches and stuff like that. So the grounds is a big one to move forward and help the game grow here. So that's how that started. And then Major League Cricket will be starting next year, which I believe will be 6 teams. And that I suspect will be very high quality cricket, something like a CPL or something like that. It won't be any muck around tournament. That they'll definitely want to do that right, because they're not looking to just do this on a small scale. They want to do this big, so they'll do this properly, and hopefully that'll create some really good engagement, and therefore ideally it becomes profitable, right? So that there's money there and that can be invested into grassroots and keeping minor leagues strong as well. So yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I suspect the USA team will be very strong in the coming 1 to 3 years, and even stronger in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you mentioned about the major league one starting up next year, because I guess it's had a starting point with the minor league one, so you can kind of see who would be involved, all that kind of stuff, where you play. But then I guess you've got all the competitions from around the world, like the Big Bash League or the IPL, PSL, all those kind of things that you can kind of take things from and learn from, I guess, to kind of be like, this worked there. How can we implement that over here? So I guess that could be something that would be very handy for American cricket.
I think so. And I think that their goal is to create an American style atmosphere as well. So they don't want to go too cliche and be exactly like the other ones. They still want to have an American feel there. So corn dogs and those things, kiss cam and all those silly things, and try make it Americanized so it's a good product for the locals as well as the passionate cricketing community. They really want to attract Americans over to the game as well, not just expats and cricket fans already. So they want to create that new fan by engaging them with a good in-crowd experience.
Yeah, I think we were halfway there with the Big Bash anyway, weren't we? I mean, it definitely was heading more towards the glitz and glamour and fireworks and all that kind of stuff, you know? It does feel a very sort of Americanized approach, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To hit the mainstream.
Yeah, it sounds really fun. Like that, what you kind of just pitched to us there about the next upcoming tournament, it sounds actually really fun. And I feel like, obviously I watch lots of cricket, but I'd love to go over and watch some games. Like, it sounds amazing.
I think what I was going to say, just to add on to the end of that, is I think what I've seen as a viewer, particularly in the Big Bash, say, if we're going to sort of compare it in a way, is the accessibility of players and how those players interact with fans and how that actually even builds that following even more. Is that the case in America? Is there a lot of accessibility to these kids, sort of cricketing heroes, if you like?
Yeah, I think so, and I think they'll make that high priority. I think they're very smart on the social media side of things, and they know how important the players are to get in touch with the fans and also use their own social media stuff to grow that game as well. And they'll definitely make sure they target some really big names, not just good cricketers, but some of the most well-known ones, to make sure the audience is really engaged in that. And I think the timing of it will be very important. I believe they're going to time it so it's not clashing with any of the other big leagues to make sure player availability is there, and obviously viewership's going to be good as well if they do that.
So do you have an inside scoop there? It sounds like you got some news about who's coming over to play for you.
No, I don't. I actually don't. But I would imagine big names. I as far as I'm aware, they'll be as big as you can get, but I don't know.
It's I mean, look, it's good that they're trying to line it up so it doesn't clash, because here, like we said, Big Bash, we don't even have our top Australian players playing in the men's team because they're off playing for Australia. So we don't even get that. So to have your top names and other international names, I think is a really good step yeah. Now, you said that starts up in a few weeks, the minor league tournament. What are you most looking forward to about that tournament?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love playing with the same team over a couple of months and traveling together, and also just helping the youngsters through the tournament and learn from the experiences, and just being around the guys for me is an enjoyment, and seeing guys get better throughout the year. And it will definitely come under plenty of challenges through the season. There's some really high quality teams, so I just like to see how we can respond and learn from difficulties throughout the season and remain as a tight unit. So we're very specific with players we pick in the sense that we're looking for really good people as well as good cricketers. So hopefully this year we've done a really good job with that, and through the tougher times we can stick together and help each other out the other side. And I think if you do that, it's very satisfying to see the growth of a team, regardless of what's happening with the results and stuff. So for me, that's the biggest challenge, and really hoping our senior players and that can help the youngsters get through the season and become better cricketers by the end of it. And as a team, if we do those things well, then hopefully the results and stuff will go our way as well. But yeah, just playing good, tough cricket, and mostly we get to play on nice, good wickets here in California. So you don't often get to do that in the US. So for these next few months, we'll get to play some really good, tough cricket on good conditions and with a good bunch of guys traveling around the US. So it's a really fun time of the year.
Well, that's good. Just maybe have a thought there when you're talking about the guys. What's the status of women's cricket in the US? Is there any interest at all from young girls and women? And what's
yeah,
that
I think
like?
so. Definitely, like with my academy, I'm starting to see some young girls come through, and for me, they're so much easier to coach as well. So I'm always happy. Like I'll check my calendar. I'm like, oh yes, girls are coming today. It's like it's an easy day. They're gonna listen. So there's definitely some more there, and I know USA Cricket's starting to put some pathways in there for underage group girls and invest in the USA Women's and stuff like that. Ultimately, it's still a long way off, but they are definitely, I can see the energy going towards that, which is a good starting point. And I think countries like Australia, England, New Zealand and stuff have done a really good job with that in the last 3 to 4 years. And now when you see their product, that product is so much better because they invested in it. So hopefully that'll be a similar pattern the US will follow, and over the next 2 or 3 years we'll see greater numbers and a greater standard as well on the field, so that product gets better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. I think it's the visibility, isn't it? It's putting it on TV, it's making a bit of a fuss over it, showing that it is, worth watching as well. And it'll be the same for your product that you're pushing over there in the States. Visibility is the key, isn't it?
100%.
And getting people through the doors.
Kind of on the topic of the big stage cricket, the ICC 2024 World Cup is going to be held in the USA and West Indies, which obviously means automatic qualification. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's a huge stepping stone for the US, and it's a huge opportunity, which it's very important that it's done well. I think it's a global stage, and people hear a lot about USA cricket and what's happening there, and this is a chance to actually show it rather than it being all talk and stuff like that. This is their chance to make sure they do it right, make sure the pitches and the facilities are up to speed, and all those things I think are really important for the USA cricket moving forward. Otherwise, other countries are going to be like, oh, no, they're not ready, or we don't want to tour there, or the organization's not there. So I think it's a really awesome opportunity, and it's a very important opportunity that's managed well and taken. And then I think it's important as a USA Cricket men's team that they are also ready and competitive in those matches, and I think they will be as well. So it's really awesome, and I think there'll be a very good following. Just got to make sure the facilities and all those things are ready to go before that happens, to make sure it's smooth sailing, because it will definitely not be a good result if it doesn't go so well.
Yeah, and I think maybe it being held with the West Indies, that could possibly be quite a good thing as well, because they obviously do have quite an established team. So that might give them a bit of a, even kind of, it's hard to explain, kind of help them level it up a bit so they're at that top level. So that should be exciting. So you also mentioned your coaching business. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that first started and what made you want to start it in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So it started very small. Just doing like 1 or 2 hours in the weekend. When after about a year living here, I took the first year completely away from cricket, and then about a year in, I was like, it'd be nice to reconnect a little bit with cricket and do a little bit of coaching. So reach out to a few people, and couple of guys wanted a little bit of coaching here or there, and it was a little bit of pocket money for us as well at the time. Wife was studying, and job was not anything special for me because I was just transitioning. So gave us a bit of pocket money to maybe go get some lunch or dinner on the weekend. So that was nice. And then it just slowly escalated. I was coaching basically in a baseball field on some dirt and putting some nets up, and I was just grew and grew through word of mouth in San Diego. And I was working full time, and then I'd start work at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I'd coach like 6 to 7:30 in the morning, and then finish at 5, and then maybe coach to 6 to 8 in the evening, and just did that for about a year or so. And that was, it wasn't easy because I was just constantly working, sleeping, and doing that. But I knew I wanted to grow that coaching business to a point where at some point, ideally, I could do it full time. So busier and busier, I was like, man, we're going to need something more than just a bit of dirt on a baseball field to do this. So we started looking at houses once my wife graduated and got a job, and found a nice house that had a big backyard and the right shape to put in a cricket net. So that was the next step, and I kept working for probably another 6 or so months, and then it got to a point where I felt pretty comfortable that the coaching business was going well enough that I didn't need that other income. And sure enough, once I left my job, the coaching business got too big as well. Like now have a very long wait list of people wanting to join, which I don't really like, because I would like to be able to help everyone, but unfortunately I can't do that. So it's a good position to be in from a business perspective, but as a cricket lover and cricket coach, it's a hard position to be in, with parents begging for their kids to join and stuff like that. It makes it difficult. So I try to run a few camps and group sessions to give them a little bit of a taste and a little bit of a help. But mostly I'm doing one-to-ones because I feel that's where I can give these kids the most benefit to upskill themselves. So yeah, it's in my backyard, and normally I'll be out there first session about 6 in the morning, and work a couple hours in the morning. Then I'll head out surfing, take care of any admin, and then in the afternoon I'll head back out and coach like 4 to 7, and then chill out and go to bed about 8 o'clock and start again the next day. So it's a really nice lifestyle, and it's a very fulfilling job, and very happy to be doing it, very lucky to be doing it. So it just grew and turned into a business accidentally. No plan on it.
That's awesome. So you've got very patient neighbours, have you, listening to batting practice every morning at 6 a.m?
Fortunately, where we're situated, it's quite lucky. So we have a school behind us, which is really good for doing fielding and bowling and stuff like that as well. And then there's a walkway and some big trees, and then their house. One neighbour's a little closer, but on the other side of their house, they have a motorway running down below. So that kind of drowns out the noise. And I'm constantly asking them, I'm like, are you sure it's not noisy? Are you sure? And they're like, no, stop asking. So everything's been very lucky and very fortunate with how it's worked out. And definitely when we close the windows in our house, the wife can't hear as well. So it seems to be not too bad.
That sounds good. And obviously you're doing really well. You said there's a huge wait list. Is there an expansion on the cards? Have you got anyone that you can even call on to be another coach there, or what is that? Is it just you coaching kids?
Yeah, the daily thoughts that run through my mind, those questions. So it's a really good one. There's one of my good friends and another really good cricketer, Shri. He does a little bit of coaching for me. Being in the backyard, I'd be a little bit careful with opening it up to too many people and stuff like that. And then expansion wise, I think about it. Do I want a massive headache and a big expense overhead and stress and take the focus away from coaching? I'm not sure that's for me. I like the lifestyle and how things are going, but I certainly always thinking of ways how things could be better from a business perspective, but two, helping more kids and making cricket better in San Diego. So that is the daily dilemma that runs through my mind often when I'm out surfing. How can I do things better and stuff? At the moment, I don't have an answer, but it is a very good question, and hopefully in the coming years, something will work out and it'll be able to, more people able to get the coaching they need and facilities they need here in San Diego.
Yeah. So you don't see any cricket nets around, do you, in America? Are there actually any cricket nets anywhere?
There is a few.
Back garden.
There's a lot in people's back gardens in San Diego ever since I built one. There's so many of the parents have built them for their kids.
Oh, wow.
But then, yeah, otherwise, there's a few. Like there's one in San Diego. There's a few in LA. Yeah, it's a rare thing. There's a lot in the backyard, but not many public. So yeah, that's definitely a challenge. There's a billion baseball fields, but there's not many cricket nets, unfortunately. So there's not an easy chance for someone to go down and just have a net, which is seems like a really simple thing to be able to do. It's not available here.
Yeah, that's clearly one of the things that we don't even realize we have until you kind of hear that. And I'm sure it's probably the same in New Zealand. Every single public park you go to, there's a cricket net. So that's probably just one of the things that kids here and even adults here playing don't realize they have. It's so lucky to kind of have that, because clearly kids over there wouldn't have, unless they build one in their own back garden, which is kind of unheard of here. I don't think anybody here is cricket nets because you don't need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now, what do you kind of hope to achieve with your coaching? What is the overall goal, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, like for me, is making kids' lives better is very important. That probably gives me the most satisfaction. So on a daily basis, I just remind myself to make sure the kid feels better by the time they leave. So whether or not their cricket gets better on that day is not always going to be the case. They might have a frustrating session or something, but I want to make sure they feel that like they belong and feel good by the time they leave, and help them with their confidence to get through day-to-day life and learn how to handle different scenarios and stuff like that. So for me, that's highly important. It might not seem like a goal or anything like that, but for me, that feels really good. And if I can help their lives be a little bit better off the cricket field and on the cricket field, then that's a huge one for me. And from a personal coaching, I'd love to coach some first class cricket and perhaps international cricket down the line. I'm not in a rush to do that. So I'll just align myself and make sure I'm ready to go with that at some point. I'm not sure when. At the moment, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing and stuff. But definitely to coach a first class side, whether that be in New Zealand, England, or whatever down the line, would be a big goal for me. And we'll definitely have to do plenty of stuff to get myself ready for that. But I feel like I could definitely have a good impact with a team at that level. But yeah, in the short term is just continuing to make the kids feel better and become better people, because that makes me feel happy. So yeah, that would be the main thing.
Yeah, that's really good to hear that you're so dedicated in helping these kids kind of succeed and play a sport that's obviously not coached by many people over there. So yeah, that's good.
When did you last head back to New Zealand?
Yeah, 2019 actually.
Just before all the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. New Zealand was one of the trickiest places to get back to. So it was, it's been difficult actually. Not having the right to go back to your own country essentially is not a nice feeling. And it's the first time you sort of feel homesick where you don't have access to your family. So that was tricky, and they just only a few months ago opened back up. So just clashed a little bit with cricket going on at the moment. So straight after the cricket season, I'll get back there for about a month and just spend some time with family and probably do a little bit of coaching back there as well. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. Do they think you sound American now?
I don't think so. They might think my accent's like dumbed down a little bit, if anything. And if I don't watch it, I might mispronounce something in an American. But I'm pretty good at adjusting how I say my words based on what country I'm in.
I was gonna say, what do Americans? Where do they think you're from? Because they're notoriously not great with our accents.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
what do you get? South African?
anywhere. You name it. German. probably was my favorite when I was in Missouri, actually, and they're even better at guessing. One of the ladies, I was at a cafe, she said, "Oh, yeah, my friend lives in Germany, and he used to drive to New Zealand in the weekends."
Wow, that's something, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? They quite obviously know a fair bit about America, but outside of that, we found the knowledge is somewhat limited. All right, so well, I've got one more question for you, then you've got another little thing to do just before we wrap up. Okay, so here's your hypothetical. You're going into In-N-Out. What are you ordering there? What's your go-to In-N-Out burger? It is the best burger.
I can't remember. They go by numbers.
They do.
I think it's a number 2. Just a pretty standard cheeseburger, isn't it?
It'd be a cheeseburger. I think hamburger would be number 1. I think double would be number 3, right?
That's it. Yeah, and it's bloody good as well.
It bloody is good. I know. Yeah.
And a strawberry milkshake to go with it.
Oh, good. That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm a chocolate. I go with the chocolate milkshake. Mum loves a strawberry milkshake.
She does. Yeah. Good stuff.
In-N-Out, we've had it like every single time.
It's our go-to place. Yeah, we love it.
Get off the plane.
You can't get burgers like that over here.
No.
And you can't explain it to people either, can you? You can't explain
how good it is.
How good American burgers can be. Yeah.
Now, to finish off our interviews, we like to just do some quick fire this or that questions. Some cricket related ones, some completely not cricket related ones. So we'll just start off with T20 or Test cricket.
Playing or watching?
Just in general.
Test cricket, but not playing it.
Yeah. Morning or night?
Morning.
Orange juice or apple juice?
Apple.
Okay. Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Literally everyone said that. We're thinking about changing that question because no one said that yet.
I can't understand it.
Yeah. No, neither can I. Now, USA or New Zealand?
USA. That one's very difficult. I'm going to offend too many people there.
Hey, well, it's given you a lot of opportunities, hasn't it, America?
Yeah, so. I mean, I love them both, to be honest, and obviously family and stuff back there as well. So they're both great countries.
Yeah. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Okay. Now, would you rather hit 3 sixes to win a game or take a hat trick to win a game?
6s.
Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Good. What is your go-to pizza topping?
Goat cheese.
Okay. Would you rather keep your chocolate in the fridge or in the cupboard?
Cupboard.
Okay. That's
different kind of chocolate over there as well. Did you find that hard to adjust to, the different taste of chocolate?
Yeah. I like Cadbury, and that's not that available here. So, and chocolate in the pantry in San Diego is a little bit dodgy as well. It might be liquid.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made. Isn't it made different over here
to
keep it from melting?
That's right.
Yeah.
Not quite as creamy. So is there anything that you miss particularly from New Zealand? Was there? Apart from family, I mean, I'm thinking sort of those kind of superficial things that you sometimes crave.
I used to absolutely love kayak fishing in New Zealand. So probably I've replaced it. I mean, I could do that here, but no, it was spare time. It's always surfing. But probably, one of the quickest things I'll do when I get back there is get on the kayak surfing, and then probably flat whites. I think they make much better coffee in New Zealand than the US. The coffee here is a bit tragic.
You found that actually as well, didn't you? We went to a Starbucks and Dad got like I don't know what you got, but it was like majority foam, and you're just like, this isn't.
Yeah, it's not what.
This isn't
They
what I
don't do
ordered.
coffee well here.
Yeah.
They don't do well here.
Which is strange.
But there's
because,
places on every corner, isn't there?
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, very odd.
But yeah,
We're done.
that's all the questions we
Excellent.
have. Thank you very much for taking your time to jump on and chat to us. We really appreciate it. And all the best with all your upcoming cricket. I'm sure we'll be tuning in now to watch, if we can, to watch the upcoming USA cricket. So all the best with that. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
Here comes Adair to Kain. It's exactly where he's going to go. A stunning shot, 4 more to the total. Kain's first international innings is proving to be a little gem.
Look, I think it was really interesting actually to hear Marty's perspective on USA cricket, because we really don't hear much of it, if we're completely honest. There's really not much that's been spread around. So yeah, it was super interesting to hear him talk about the tournament, I guess, and where he thinks USA cricket is going in the future, and about the World Cup as well, how it's the 2024 World Cup is being held in USA and West Indies, I think is really good for USA cricket. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens with USA cricket in the future. So yeah, that was the interview with Marty Kain. So at 2 p.m, the day we are recording this, the Australia versus Sri Lanka men's test match begins. So we can talk about that next episode. So yeah, that is 2:30 p.m. everywhere else except Adelaide and Darwin. So yeah, that should be an interesting one. I guess that's it for this week. We haven't got much else to talk about, but by the next episode, the women's test will be done, so we can obviously recap what's happened with that. The Australia versus Sri Lanka test will be done. So yeah, that's all the cricket for this week. Next week, we are going to be joined by Sydney Thunder and New South Wales Breaker player Annika Learoyd. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram or Twitter at howzaptcp, or you can send us an email at howzapthecricketpodcast@gmail.com. But that is all from me this week.
Thank you very much for having me. Great to be on for the first time, and maybe it's our little Stokes and McCullum era. Who knows?
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.
How's that?